We all got that one song you know, but can't remember its name for the life of you. Two examples I can think of are Young Folk by Peter, Bjorn, and John. For a while, I used to call this the hipster song with whistling. And the other is the subject of today's video, Send Me On My Way by Rusted Root. A song I'm sure a lot of you know, even if you don't. I say that because this song's been featured in everything under the damn sun. Maybe not as much as cliche shit like Holding Out for a Hero or Mr. Blue Sky. If you made a bingo card for licensed music and movies, those two would be the free spot in the middle. It's more about the variety of stuff Send Me On My Way's been used in. Movies, TV, commercials, all for different ages and demographics too. Like anytime you see a travel montage or characters dicking around in nature, odds are it's accompanied by this song. First you got Ice Age 1. The scene it's used in is the epitome of what I'm talking about. It's during a time lapse as Sid, Manny, and Diego escorting the gross human baby back to its tribe. I'm sure 98% of you seen this movie, so I won't over-explain it, but I swear it's got some Mandela effect on me. Anybody else watch Brother Bear as a kid? This was a Disney movie that came out around the same time as Ice Age that also takes place during an ice age, and has funny talking animals too. Those are really the only two similarities, but that was enough to cross some wires in 5-year-old me's head, because I confused a lot of things between these two, including the soundtrack, because I thought Brother Bear also used Send Me On My Way in a travel montage too. But nope, all the music for that movie was by Phil Collins. Next is Matilda. I know a lot of people that grew up watching this movie too, but this was the first time I'd ever seen it. It's alright, like Danny DeVito's always great playing a greedy character, but it felt like it was supposed to be more fantasy school, Harry Potter type shit with Matilda's powers and Crunch'em Hall. To put it frankly, there's a level of whimsy to it, like all of Trunchbull's torture rooms, and just the way it looks. I was expecting there to be like potion classes or something. To be honest, I was more into the subplot with her family, even though it's not really integral to the story. But I was getting tripped up because Danny DeVito plays her dad, but also does the narration in between scenes. So you constantly hear him refer to himself as a different character. It's like if the grandpa from Princess Bride also played Inigo Montoya. And there's scenes I bet scared a lot of kids, like Matilda blowing up the TV, or when they invade Trunchbull's house, or how it uses Send Me On My Way twice. Once in the intro when Matilda's making breakfast, and the second at the end during a time jump. And I don't really think it fits. Not because these aren't travel montages, but they last for like 10 seconds, so it's hard to get invested in the song. If you're gonna play something twice in a movie, don't make it this song. Next is Race the Sun, which came out the same year as Matilda. This movie's okay, but it's one of the most tropey things I've seen in a while. It's about a team of high schoolers from Hawaii competing in a solar-powered car race in Australia. And you know, they don't get along at first, but slowly warm up to each other before the race. But then, something makes them fight before the second act and break up for a bit, and then they fix it like 2 minutes later and all become friends again. I know that can explain like 30% of all movies ever, and it's got a neat concept of Tour de France with solar-powered cars, but it hits every beat you'd expect it to hit, including a travel montage with Send Me On My Way, which is funnier because in the very next scene they said they got lost. They got sent on their way a little too much, if you ask me. Next is The Theory of Flight from 1998. This one's about an artist named Richard becoming the new caretaker for a lady with ALS named Jane. She's only got a few months to live and asks Richard to help her have sex before she goes. He eventually agrees, but simultaneously builds an airplane to fly. Richard designs a whole bunch of flying contraptions, but I forget the deep philosophical reasons why he's gotta fly. Honestly, this movie's kinda boring. The first 30 minutes drag, but then you're hooked back in when Jane asks Richard to help her get laid, and that's a nice reveal, but it meanders for a while until Richard decides he's gotta rob a bank to finish the plane. And he does this while Jane tries to have sex with somebody they hired. And he goes as far as to pull a gun on the teller, but somehow telepathically connects with Jane when she's having a panic attack and books it without suffering any consequences. Like, people recognized him at the bank too. They saw his face. Also, they messed with Send Me On My Way. It plays during a montage of Richard building a workshop for his plane, but the song is pitched up. Same tempo, same instrumentation, and I'm not sure if the movie did that or it's only in the upload I found. I couldn't find it anywhere on streaming, so I had to use a YouTube upload with Portuguese subtitles and a lot of compression. Time for the obligatory Netflix Christmas movie, Holiday in the Wild. This one's about a lady named Kate that gets divorced by her husband literal seconds after their son leaves for college. So she goes to Africa to fall in love with elephants and Rob Lowe, the actor with the most ambiguous status ever. Like, dude goes from Parks and Rec to knockoff Hallmark shit like this. This movie's made for no one. Besides a gag in the intro, it completely forgets it's a Christmas movie until like halfway in. Only then do we start getting into the festivities, like decorating and playing as much royalty-free Christmas music as possible. But even that feels underbaked, because the movie adds more story beats on top of that. Towards the end, Kate's son visits her in Africa and says he wants to drop out of college and become a musician. And she's just like, oh, follow your dreams, do whatever your heart desires. It's worth noting the movie is set in December 2019, so dropping out of school to become a full-time musician surely won't bite him in the ass a few months later. Also, I'm not sure how often they use real elephants in this movie, but there's a couple scenes where they get up close to him and it looks like bad CGI. I know everyone says that about everything these days, but I got a lingering suspicion most of the budget was spent on getting Rob Lowe and Send Me On My Way, which plays during a time lapse on the elephant preserve they live on. It's not Christmas themed if you were curious, they're not that crazy. But yeah, this movie's made by robots. I more than likely would have never watched it if it weren't for this video. Let's switch over to TV, cause shows are just as guilty of using this song. First is New Girl. As someone who's reluctantly watched all of it, best way I can describe the show is It's Always Sunny for people that feel guilty about liking It's Always Sunny. It's mainly about the scenarios they get in and the characters. Like Nick reminds me of Charlie, Schmidt reminds me of Dennis, Coach reminds me of Mac. They're just a lot more quirky, something I think New Girl tries way too hard to be. This episode's a good example. Season 1, Episode 6, The Landlord. Basically, Jess convinces the landlord to fix a bunch of stuff around the apartment, which makes him open up and get friendly towards her. Nick thinks that's stupid and says he's doing it just to get with her, but the landlord gets with Nick too and invites them to have a menage a trois. That sounds like a funny setup, but the show kinda knows that and hammers it in way too much. Like, this is when they play Send Me On My Way, and not to be rude, but this is the least sexy song ever written. Like, who'd want to get it on listening to this? Next, we got Fresh Off the Boat. I never seen it before this, but I do remember seeing ads when it first came out. So it's kind of funny I'm starting with the third to last episode of the series, or the antepenultimate episode to be professional. First thing I noticed was how radically different the intro is to the rest of the show. It's got a very 2008 MTV vibe with the edits and rap music. Then you actually watch it and they use Kevin MacLeod shit for music. And that's a good representation for this show. It feels very royalty free. Some of the jokes are funny, but the pace is so unnatural. They never give any time for jokes to linger or build. It feels like it's constantly gotta be hitting beats, and sometimes a funny joke comes out of nowhere. I'll give them props, but most of the time it was just annoying. One part that was funny to me is the B plot with the dad and his kid. I forget everyone's names, but they're eating at restaurants that claim to have the best burger in the world and call themselves the Burger Boys. And I swear to God, I kept thinking they were doing a Costco Guys bit, like they were gonna have their own version of the boom meter and make TikToks with Jimmy Fallon. But you look it up, and this episode came out like 3 years before Costco Guys were even a thing. It's unintentionally funny, but y'all know I love unintentionally funny things. Send Me On My Way plays when they go to a vegan burger shop, because everyone there is a hippie and a vegan and plant-based. It's only for like 3 seconds during an establishing shot, and then fades out the second someone starts talking. I'm glad I didn't have to watch 6 seasons of the show to understand the episode. Next is literally the worst looking show ever, Big Mouth. I've only seen the first season of this. I was in high school when the show dropped, and everyone was obsessed with how raunchy it was. I get that's part of its charm, but so many things viscerally piss me off about Big Mouth. All the kids are voiced by 40-year-olds, the hormone monster sounds like a bad Will Arnett impression, they make 20 jokes a minute, but most of it's just pop culture references, and again, the art style. I know everyone dogs on it, but there's nothing funny about an art style this bad. They play the song twice in Season 1, Episode 4, Sleepover, a harrowing ordeal of emotional brutality. The first time is Jesse's dad singing it while he smokes, but it barely registers as a joke since this show's got no semblance of pace. And the second time is during the credits. It doesn't fit at all, but they reference it earlier in the episode, so of course they gotta do it again. Big Mouth is probably one of the few things I'll admit to being a hater for. We all got that one thing you gotta hate unrepentantly. And finally, let's end with a show I used to like. Rick and Morty. I haven't regularly watched it since season 4 because I felt they dropped the ball so hard with the evil Morty story. Like, you could tell they were planting the seeds for bigger shit but got cold feet and went back to the wacky adventure of the week shit that doesn't matter like season 1 and 2. I love season 2 with all my heart, but I wanted to see him shake it up, you know? I say all this and now they're on season 8, so maybe these problems have been fixed. To the 5 people who still watch Rick and Morty, let me know if I'm wrong in the comments. Anyway, we got season 8, episode 8, No Mortland. This one's about Jerry finding another version of himself that travels between dimensions using cracks in the multiverse. It's a neat idea to have these back doors essentially, but it's kinda tame given all the shit we've seen by now. There's also a spot they call Grand Central that's a bunch of Jerrys from different universes, and it feels exactly like the Jerry daycare from the arcade episode in season 2. Also, why are we still getting Jerry episodes in season 8? These were tolerable at best like 7 years ago, but now it's just sad. I will give the episode credit. It plays the song during a travel montage when Jerry's going between dimensions. So at the very least it's used in the right setting, but then it's used again during a chase scene later in the episode and sped up digitally. I have no clue why they did this. It just sounds so off. It reminds me of when bands release sped up versions of their songs for TikTok. Like I said, if I'm being too mean to Rick and Morty, let me know what I missed in the comments. This episode felt super bland and I'm glad I hopped off the show when I did. It feels like it just doesn't respect your time. But you know who is gonna respect your time? Me. Because that's all I got for now. I mean, there's still a bunch of other TV shows and movies that use this song, but most of them are next to impossible to find. Like, any of y'all seen Pie in the Sky with John Goodman or Standing Still? Probably not, but they also use Send Me On My Way too. This song's got a habit of being everywhere, even in places where it shouldn't be. Like Rusted Roots even played this song at Woodstock 99, which is only funny because if you know anything about that festival, Send Me On My Way is the complete antithesis of the entire mood and vibe. The crowd seemed to like it though. If I missed any of your favorite movies or shows that used this song, scream at me in the comments as always. I also left a Letterboxd playlist in the description featuring all these movies. You can add me on there if you want, but don't get mad at my reviews. Weapons sucked and nothing will ever change my mind about that. Shoutouts, of course, to my patrons, and I'll see y'all next time for something Halloween related or scary. I don't know, we'll figure it out.